In 1985, the United States government officially erased Route 66 from every map in America. Gone. The road that carried 1 million Dust Bowl families to survival, the road Steinbeck called the Mother Road, removed, because a faster road had been built that did not need the towns along it anymore. And when the road disappeared, so did the people who had built their entire lives on it. This is the story of Route 66. Not the tourist version, not the song, not the neon signs on postcards sold in airport gift shops. The real one. The one about the families nobody compensated, the communities nobody warned, the lives that were made irrelevant overnight by a line drawn on a map somewhere far away. This is Unsaid America. We tell the stories that never made the news. Subscribe and stay with us. Now let us begin. Route 66 was born in 1926, a ribbon of roads stretching 2,400 miles from Chicago, Illinois, all the way to Santa Monica, California. It connected the heartland of America to the Pacific Ocean. It ran through 8 states: Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, and everywhere it went, it brought life with it. John Steinbeck called it the Mother Road, and that name captured something true. During the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, it was the road that desperate families traveled west on, searching for anything better than what they were leaving behind. During World War II, it carried soldiers and supplies. After the war, it carried a booming America into its golden age, families piling into new cars, discovering their country for the first time, stopping at the diners and motels and gas stations that lined every mile of the road. For the people who lived along Route 66, the road was not just transportation. It was everything. It was their economy, their identity, their reason for being exactly where they were. A family that opened a diner in a small Oklahoma town built that diner because Route 66 passed in front of it, and thousands of travelers stopped every day. A man who built a motel in the Arizona desert built it because Route 66 brought people through that desert every single day of the year. A gas station in New Mexico, a souvenir shop in Texas, a motor court in California. All of them existed because of the road. All of them believed the road would always be there. Then, in 1956, President Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act. America was getting interstates, and the interstates were not going to wind through small towns and stop at family diners. They were going to cut straight and fast through the countryside, bypassing everything that slowed travelers down, including the towns, including the people. The bypasses did not happen all at once. They crept along Route 66 slowly throughout the 1960s and 1970s, each new stretch of Interstate 40 cutting another section of the Mother Road off of the traffic that kept it alive. And each bypass had the same effect on every town it passed: almost immediate economic death. One historian described what happened to the town of Glen Rio, right on the Texas and New Mexico state line, as death by interstate. In its heyday, coming into Glen Rio looked like Times Square, lines at the payphone, everyone fueling themselves and their machines. Today, Glen Rio is a near ghost town with more roadrunner birds than people. Think about what death by interstate actually means. The same government that built Route 66 and allowed thousands of families to plant their lives along it decided 30 years later to build a faster road that made those communities irrelevant. Nobody asked those communities what they thought. Nobody held a vote. Nobody offered compensation. The line was simply drawn somewhere else on the map, and the consequences were left entirely for the families to carry alone. In Amboy, California, deep in the Mojave Desert, there was a place called Roy's Motel and Cafe, a beautiful old neon sign, a classic American roadside stop that had been serving travelers since the 1930s. When Interstate 40 bypassed Amboy, the town was deserted within years. Roy's closed, the population collapsed. Today, the entire town of Amboy is essentially one building, the partially restored Roy's, sitting alone in the desert like a monument to something America used to care about. In Texola, Oklahoma, right on the border with Texas, there was once a town with a school and a jail and businesses and a movie theater. Dust Bowl families stopped there on their way west. Soldiers passed through on their way to training. Families made memories there on summer road trips.
When Interstate 40 bypassed Texola, the decline was immediate and total. Today, a few remaining residents live among crumbling buildings and overgrown lots in a town that America simply decided it no longer needed.
In Cuervo, New Mexico, the interstate was built directly through the town, not around it, through it. The new road cut the community in half and bypassed local businesses entirely. Families moved away. Buildings were left to weather. Today, Cuervo is almost entirely abandoned. Crumbling stone houses, boarded-up churches, and rusted cars sitting quietly under the New Mexico sky, waiting for travelers who are never coming back. These are not isolated tragedies. This is a pattern that repeated itself town after town, state after state, across the entire 2,400 miles of Route 66. The same story every single time. A community built around the road bypassed, the community left to die. And here is what makes this story truly unsaid. The people who built those businesses and raised their children in those towns were not given any warning that would have been useful. In many cases, they did not find out until construction was already underway. And even when they did know, what were they supposed to do? Pack up a diner and move it? Rebuild a motel somewhere else? The businesses they had built were built for that specific road in that specific place. They had no value anywhere else. They had no future anywhere else. The road was their future, and the road was taken from them. Route 66 was officially decommissioned in 1985, removed entirely from the United States highway system. The road that carried 1 million Dust Bowl families to survival. The road that gave birth to American road trip culture. The road that was called the Main Street of America, officially erased, gone from every map, replaced by interstates that do not pass through towns, that do not stop at diners, that do not let travelers discover the country they are driving through, just fast and efficient and empty of everything that made Route 66 worth driving. Before we finish, I need to ask you something. Did your family ever stop at a town on Route 66 that felt frozen in time? A diner, a motel, a gas station that looked like nobody had touched it in 40 years. Tell me where it was, and tell me the name of the town. Because those places deserve to be remembered, and the people who built them deserve to be remembered by name, not buried in a history no one talks about. Here is the question this story cannot avoid. How does this happen in America? The government that built Route 66 told thousands of families that building their lives along that road was a good and permanent decision. Those families believed it. They invested everything they had. They built communities. They raised children. They created the very culture that America now sells on postcards and t-shirts and souvenir mugs and gift shops. And then the government built a faster road and left them with nothing. The corporations that benefited from faster shipping did not pay anything. The urban planners who drew the lines on the maps did not pay anything. The politicians who signed the legislation did not pay anything. The families who had built their lives on the mother road paid everything. With their businesses, with their savings, with their communities, with the futures they had planned for their children. They did not choose to be left behind. They were left behind by a country that decided efficiency mattered more than community. Speed mattered more than roots. Getting there faster mattered more than the places in between. Route 66 built those communities. The interstate system destroyed them. That is not nostalgia. That is not legend. That is simply what happened.
and the people who lived through it, the ones who watched their diners empty out and their motels close and their towns become ghost towns while America drove past them at 70 miles per hour without stopping. Those people deserved better than to have their entire story swallowed up by a song and a souvenir shop. The menus are still on the tables in some of those diners. Nobody will ever order from them again. A country that abandons the roads that built it will eventually abandon the people who traveled them. And as we have seen tonight, it already has. This has been Unsaid America. If this story meant something to you, share it with one person tonight. Not for the algorithm, because someone in your life needs to understand what their country did to these people. Subscribe, and we will keep telling the stories nobody else will.